Blackcaps won the first T20 versus Sri Lanka, and we've got the Super Smash underway. It's really trying to get underway, but the old rain has interrupted proceedings. But we'll get to the Super Smash in a jiffy, because we've got a bit of Blackcaps to talk about. Big comeback victory in the first T20, and they are playing again tonight. Monday night is the second T20, and then we are back on the 2nd of January for the third T20. My first observation, though, is that we are consistently told across sports that the big names got to play. The big names got to play so the fans show up. And we are told in various ways that there is a direct correlation between the superstars, the big name players playing and fans showing up. Who's a superstar in this Blackcaps team?
Kane Williamson?
Well, he's not there.
I'm not going to say Devon Conway. You're going to trick me into that. But
well, none of these dudes
Trent
are playing.
Bolt, Tim Southey.
None of these dudes are playing. What are you doing? They're not playing the T20s.
Yeah, this is what we're. Is this not what you're asking? Is they've not got superstars? Hold on, you've put me on the wrong track. I thought you were saying like name some players so you can say that they're not playing, so you can point out that the crowd still turned up.
Well, that's my point. But I'm saying, who is the superstar that is playing for the Blackcaps right now?
Sorry, that's where I misheard you. Who is the superstar in this team?
Like
Daryl Mitchell.
There's some good players, but there's no superstar. There is some recognizable names, but my point is that there is no relationship between the best players playing and Kiwi cricket fans showing up. And this goes into the theme I've seen across Kiwi cricket for years now, is that Kiwis just love cricket, and Kiwis are going to show up in big numbers to watch New Zealand play cricket. We had a monster crowd for the first T20. I suspect there's going to be another monster crowd back again at the same stadium in case those folks in the Bay of Plenty region, and of course the wider vicinity of the North Island who converge on the Bay of Plenty region at this time of year, they're showing up in big numbers, and then they're saying that the game in Nelson on the 2nd of January at Saxton Oval is a sellout. So we've got sold out T20 games. Now, I don't want to use the sold out term because that's a bit of a gimmick at this point. We've got massive heaving crowds for T20s in which, I mean, it's Tim Robinson, Ravindra, Chapman, Phillips, Mitchell, Hay, Bracewell, Santner, Foulkes, Henry, Duffy. Like, there's certified Blackcaps in that group, but none of the big names that everyone tells us have to play for fans to show up. So I'm pondering, like, first of all, it's a reinforcement of the idea that Kiwis love cricket. And regardless of who they're playing, because of course, when England come to New Zealand, when Australia comes to New Zealand, the test crowds, oh my gosh, we got first 3 days are sold out, banger. On the back of the momentum generated by the World Cup and all this stuff, we got big crowds. Okay, here we are. Festive period. We don't have many big names in the Blackcaps T20 team. They're playing Sri Lanka, who most of the fans, aside from the Sri Lankan fans, most of the Kiwi cricket fans at Bay Oval, they might not know who Benura Fernando is. Like, Sri Lanka's not a massive draw card in the general cricketing perspective, or should I say the small 3 cricketing perspective. But despite New Zealand having an emerging development type of squad, despite the Blackcaps playing against Sri Lanka, there was a massive heaving crowd at Bay Oval. And I suspect there's going to be another massive heaving crowd today at Bay Oval. And then I suspect once again, when they play the third T20, which may not even matter because New Zealand might win it, and if they do, that will only reinforce this whole point further, there's going to be another massive heaving crowd in Nelson. So we need to stash this away that Kiwis are just showing up for cricket. Doesn't matter the format, Doesn't matter the opposition. Doesn't even matter who is playing for the Blackcaps. Kiwis are showing out in massive numbers just to watch cricket. And then from there, I'm going to also throw out this idea that there's maybe not necessarily a massive correlation between fans showing out in New Zealand and the quality of players who are playing for New Zealand. Anyway, the Blackcaps won the game. It was a seesawing affair. Daryl Mitchell got a big old score. Michael Bracewell got a big old score. Sri Lankan openers got a big old score. And then no one else scored over 10 runs. So that's how the Blackcaps won. We've got Matt Henry taking a few wickets. Jacob Duffy taking a few wickets. And Zach Folks taking a few wickets. Which do you have a hot point or a question that you want to throw out there to get us started?
Hot points, perhaps, because I think the batting innings from the Blackcaps was, well, it started off not so good. I think your top the top four, no one scored above 15, and then Mitch Hay got a gold duck, who I think has scored 3 runs in 3 innings so far in international cricket, but has took a couple nice catches. So the glove work's been good. His time will come, but big partnership between Mitchell and Bracewell. However, that's just those are like two. I was going to say most experienced. They might well be the most experienced guys if you look at it sort of like their overall career thing in terms of batters in that 11. So that's just the value of having a deep batting lineup, I think, because their top order was able to fail because the middle order could then score a bunch of runs. Mitchell was great. Bracewell was great. We've seen this before from them. I think the bowling lineup was where the bowling performance was where it got quite interesting because Sri Lanka did get on top and then the Blackcaps had to fight it back a little bit. You had Matt Henry being awesome. That's one point. You had Jacob Duffy with a big over that changed the course of the game, took a few wickets and really flipped the momentum on its head. That's another point. And then the other point I thought was quite interesting was that they really banked on Zach Folks there, young in his career, to be the death bowler, to be the guy bowling those key ones at the very end. And I think a couple of balls got away from him, but for the most part, I thought he did that role pretty well as well. So there was a nice tidy effort. And then throughout that, similar to the things of like Daryl Mitchell scoring runs, Michael Bracewell scoring runs, seen it before, just like we've seen Mitchell Santner tying up an end through the middle overs before many times. And he was, again, excellent at that, slowing them down just enough to allow the pace bowlers to strike with a little bit of pressure there. And yeah, good comeback victory there. It looked like it wasn't going to happen. And then suddenly it's just one of those ones where a T20 game can change so suddenly. And that happened. And they were talking to, which, by the way, I hate this, when they go to talk to the players during the game on the little microphone. They had it with Glenn Phillips in this one. It's always Glenn Phillips as well. I guess he's a good interview. But it's like, let him focus on the game. But he said multiple times where he's like, well, I can't remember what the word was. He's like, we're fighters or we're scrappers or something like that. And he basically forecast how the game was going to end. So they were behind at that stage. It was looking struggling. And then there's your best fielder out there talking about how, who seemed to be getting a little bit of itchy feet because he wasn't getting a bowl, but he also explained why he understands why he wasn't getting a bowl, which was pretty clear from how that team was selected. But talking about how this is a team that's going to fight till the end, and they did, and there was just enough time for them to scrape through with an 8-run victory. So it was some nice stuff there, some good stuff in there, but also a good variety of performances within that victory as well.
A lot of cricket broadcasting observations happening now because we got the Blackcaps and we got Super Smash, and I find it insane how, especially in the Super Smash, but it happens in the Blackcaps a few times, they go to a player on the mic and the commentators just talk the whole time. Like the whole
and
point
half
of
the
this
time they're not even talking about the game, like they're not even commentating.
The whole point of this segment is a mic'd up player segment where the player talks. But what happens is the broadcaster, the commentator, talks a lot, talks 70% of the time, and then they throw it to the player as the bowler is running into the crease. And it just seems like an absolute waste of time. But there's a lot of those things happening for the Kiwi cricketing broadcast. Zach Folks, currently averaging 22.5 in T20 bowling, got a T20 bowling average of 18.4. Sorry, that's a 22.5 in internationals. T20s, he's averaging 18.4. Zach Folks, who has bowled in 4 formats, 2 T20 formats, first class and list A. His worst format is first class, where he's averaging 25.7, which all matches up pretty nicely with Will O'Rourke. Will O'Rourke, T20 international bowling average of 21.2, T20 bowling average of 23.1, and his worst bowling formats are test bowling, 24.8 average, and first class bowling, 26. This is an insight into the simmering talent that Aotearoa is brewing in the, especially, well, I'll say both pipelines for the Blackcaps and the White Ferns. There's a second T20 playing tonight, so I don't really have a lot more to say. We'll keep building the observations and let things flow on. I'm just lost for words there. I will say Daryl Mitchell, 162 strike rate this year. So the only players with a higher T20 strike rate than Daryl Mitchell, Tom Blundell, 168, and Fennellan, 167. The 4th highest T20 batting strike rate this year is the one and only Zach Folks, 142. They are the only Blackcaps over 130. So shout out to them. We got Matt Henry, fantastic in T20 international bowling at the moment. This year, 21.8 average. And of course, Zach Folks made his debut this year, so his average is the 22.5. But this flows us into Super Smash, where I was actually a bit annoyed because the old Otago Volts were in a very strong position yesterday against Auckland, and then their game got rained off. Otago had restricted Auckland to 106, I think that was off 17 overs at 6.5 RPOs, 106 all out, and then Otago were 26 without loss, scoring at 14.1 RPO. So Otago were well on top of that game. But my first major Super Smash thing is Kyle Jamieson coming back, moving the ball both ways. I think he had a hoop and in-swinger to get someone out. And then he... No, wait, let me confirm this. So he got Dale Phillips out bowled. Dale Phillips, the right-hander, so the ball's going into Dale Phillips. And then he got Jamal Todd out first. But Jamal Todd's a lefty, and he bowled an in-swinger to the lefty. So he's moving the ball opposite directions. That is as good a return for Kyle Jamieson as you're going to get. Just showing how he can move the ball with his height, with his bounce, with his skill set. Like, no one else in the Super Smash so far is moving the ball both ways. You've got swing bowlers. Like Mason Clark has actually looked like he's had the most swing of a lot of bowlers who have played so far. Classic outswing. But Kyle Jamieson just came back into Super Smash and was moving the ball both ways, which was fantastic to see. And that was in the game where Canterbury lost to Otago. And that's the game where Max Chu just went absolutely crazy. 82 runs, strike rate of 178, batting 3. And that's a Max Chu who has 360 runs at an average of 60 in the Plunkett Shield. He's got 157 runs at an average of 39, but with a strike rate of 103 in the Ford Trophy, and 82 runs at a strike rate of 178 in the Super Smash. So Max, like, if you're worried about Mitch Hay, I mean, we got another one. This is the thing about Kiwi cricketers. Yeah, sure, I'm like, all the youngsters in the Blackcaps, they're just getting the opportunities. They're just building. They're going to stack up the games. They're going to struggle. They're going to have good patches. This is young player development. But if you're stressing about Mitch Hay, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, well, we got another guy right there, Max Chu, who not only was promoted up the order, but he was captain for Otago, and he then was captain against Auckland as well, because I think Luke Georgeson is injured. So Max Chu has had a massive he's had a massive season, to be honest. If we're talking about best young cricketers, you got the, obvious ones. We got Reece Mariu in the Plunkett Shield, who didn't play for Canterbury, and that's understandable, given you got Chad Bowes, Tom Latham, and Matt Boyle hit a 50-odd against the touring Sri Lankan team. Bevan Jacobs just hit his 28 runs or whatever off the 1 over, and then they played another hit around of T20 cricket in which Matt Boyle scored a 50. So, and then I don't know if Canterbury is going to select Reece Mariu in the middle to lower order, especially when they got a lot of all-rounders. So I don't really see a place for Reece Mariu in this Canterbury Super Smash team when Bowes and Latham are available. Matt Boyle is a better white ball batter than Reece Mariu, which is my opinion, but when you consider that he's played all 3 formats, he's got a decent record in all 3 formats, and Reece Mariu hasn't played Super Smash, does not have a good Ford Trophy record, I think all of that backs up the opinion that Matt Boyle is a better white ball batter. But when we're talking about impressive youngsters, I think Max Chu is top of the pops right now for his run scoring in all 3 formats. Very efficient, effective wicketkeeper, but he's also stepping up as a leader for Otago, and that's a key wrinkle there. We've had 2 games from Otago, a win against Canterbury, then a no result. Northern Districts and Auckland was rained off on the first game day, and then Auckland and Otago was rained off yesterday. So that is all the stuff on the men's side of the Super Smash. There are a couple of new players for Otago. Jamal Todd looks like a frisky hitter up the top of the order, lefty, as I was saying. And who else do we have for Otago? Ruben Clinton, who I think is a South African who has played for USA. No, he's born in Fort Worth, Texas, so he might just be straight up American. Bit of off-spin, didn't see him bat, but he looks like a frisky cricketer. Batting in the middle to lower order for Otago, took a wicket. I think it was a big wicket. Yeah, he got Guptill out. So that's not too shabby for Mr. I don't want to offend him by saying Mr. Clinton, President Clinton, but he's the Ruben Clinton.
Any relation?
So shout out to him. He's playing for Otago. Obviously, we mentioned Mason Clark before as well. Someone who I've I don't know if he was playing I don't know if he was playing Plunkett Shield leading up to Super Smash, but someone who was straight in there in the Auckland team for their first Super Smash game proper. Yeah, Jock McKenzie hasn't played Plunkett Shield, but he was batting 5, and I'm pretty confident he would have had a bowl for Auckland as well. I don't want to say Jock McKenzie's better than any other youngster, but he's in the mix for the highly talented young players in New Zealand. He is a very good cricketer, but I don't know if he's
Is he better than Angus McKenzie?
Angus McKenzie does the job for Canterbury.
Which one's which, by the way? Because for obvious reasons, get them confused.
Well, you just differentiated them right there. Is he better than Angus McKenzie?
Yeah, but what I'm talking are they both all-rounders?
They're both all-rounders. One plays for Auckland, one plays for Canterbury. That's all you need to know, really.
And which one's the rugby player?
I'm sure they both played rugby at some point,
Probably, but one of them...
Who cares? Jock McKenzie's awesome, but Angus McKenzie's really good for Canterbury as well. There's games where he might not bowl, but he's batting down the order and he's fielding, And he, for all the talent that Canterbury has, Angus McKenzie and then someone like Michael Ray, but I think Angus McKenzie is a better all-round cricketer than Michael Ray. For all the talent that Canterbury has, Angus McKenzie is just always in the team. And I think that he's always in the team because he is a very good fielder. He's a very good bowler. He's very good, not very good, but he's a good batter as well. If we're forecasting potential, I think Jock has more Blackcaps upside and potential, but Angus McKenzie, A, he's always selected, B, he always does the job, and I think he's pretty good. So I don't want to say that Jock McKenzie's better, but Jock McKenzie, like, again, I don't want to say Jock McKenzie's better than Will Clark. I don't want to say Jock McKenzie, as far as all-rounders go, like, I don't know if Jock McKenzie's better than Luke Georgeson. Don't know if he's better than Muhammad Abbas. Like, Christian Clark's pretty impressive as an all-rounder as well. Point is, there's one of those dudes in every team, and they're all 25 years or younger-ish, and they're all very good at cricket, so there should be no concerns about New Zealand's cricketing depth, as we've discussed with the young phenoms. But Jock McKenzie hasn't shown his best cricket. Like, he does have a couple of 50s, first class 50, one day 50. He's got a few wickets in all three formats. And he was batting number 5 for Auckland, so I think he might be someone to watch out for with the expanded role for Auckland. Any other comments, questions, queries for the men's Super Smash?
Well, you got 2/3 of the way towards the dream trio of Cole Jamieson, Henry Shipley, and Will O'Rourke, because Henry Shipley also came back and played for Canterbury in their first game. I think Will O'Rourke in the... Yeah, he's playing ODIs for the Blackcaps, so we might not get that this year. But, you know, at least they're all back. All three of the tall fellas for Canterbury are back playing cricket again and bowling overs and looking pretty good. Shipley wasn't as dramatic as Carl Jamieson swinging the ball both ways in his first game back, but he was solid. You know, there's all good signs.
Carl Jamieson took the 2 wickets, Shipley took 1 wicket, and then Shipley 13 not out, and Carl Jamieson 2. He was bowled by Hazeldine. Hazeldine, if you're looking for just like the most fun Super Smash cricketers, Brett Hampton, number 1. Somewhere on the list, Andrew Hazeldine, bowling fast lefties. It's a bit wild, it's a bit out of control, but he bowls heat. And it's not like Martin Guptill wasn't stepping forward and doing his classical shots to Andrew Hazeldine. He's kind of up on his toes, jumping around. And I think Andrew Hazeldine's got a bit of X factor, and he's I think there's like Super Smash legend type of stuff there if he can maintain it over the course of a season. But I think my main Super Smash legend right now is still Brett Hampton. Women's Super Smash. So obviously we've had a bunch of games in Alexandra for Otago, and Otago are playing Central Districts on Tuesday. So another game day in Alexandra. The 3 games that were played, we had a no result versus Northern Districts and Auckland. Then Canterbury defeated Otago, and then Otago defeated Auckland. So Canterbury women defeating Otago Sparks was an upset. And Otago men defeating Canterbury men, I believe, was an upset, because the 2 teams, so in that Otago versus Canterbury game day, which is the only full game day we've had so far, the teams that lost had at least, I think, 3 White Ferns or Blackcaps, and their opposition had no White Ferns or Blackcaps current players. So that tells you about the matchups there, and the Canterbury women did pretty well to win their game against Otago, led by Indian professional Shikha Pandey. She was 63 runs down the order. and she then took 2 wickets at 4.2 RPO. But I was also impressed with Missy Banks chiming in. Classic T20 chiming in innings. 14 not out, strike rate of 140 down the order, and then 2 wickets at 4.7 RPO, and she dismissed Bella James and Polly Ingalls. So I enjoyed that little contribution from Missy Banks. Not quite as much as I enjoyed Bree Illing, especially against Northern Districts on the first game day. She is a big, tall lefty, 2 wickets at 5.6 RPO. What did she do in the loss to Auckland? No wickets at 7.3 RPO. But Bree Illing, A, she's a lefty. B, she bowls with the similar pace and bounce as the Penfold sisters. And I am curious if Josie Penfold bowls faster than Molly Penfold. Because Josie Penfold bowls with a bit of pace and bounce. I think she hit someone in the helmet yesterday. And there's that trio of seamers for Auckland who are all fairly similar, and they get a little bit of swing, a little bit of seam, but they are pace and bounce. You got Illing, the lefty, Molly Penfold's the white fern, and then Josie Penfold is the undercover player who actually has the best T20 record of the 3 prior to this game. So this is after the first game day. Molly Penfold was averaging 36.6 in T20 and Super Smash. Bree Illing averaging 31.5. Josie Penfold averaging 15.7. So I am curious there, but Bree Illing has the X factor. She's a lefty. She bowls pretty quick, good bounce, good swing as well for a lefty. So watch out for Bree Illing. But we've had 2 game days for Otago, which gives us a nice sample size of Otago Sparks. And Eden Carson's had a fantastic start to the tournament. 5 wickets at 5.7 RPO in 8 overs. Emma Black's bowling pretty well, big in swinger. She's been one of the best seamers in New Zealand for the last 4 to 5 seasons. So watch out for her. Susie Bates goes without saying, she usually scores runs at this level, but as per Otago's hot start to the HBJ Shield, where I think they finished the first stanza undefeated, I did write about it after the first couple of weekends. You got Polly Ingalls, 58 runs in 2 games. Caitlin Blakely had a nice knock, 21 not out, and Bella James. Now, Bella James went up to the White Ferns, and she hasn't necessarily done a big, 50-plus banger century as she did in the HBJ Shield to get into the White Ferns. But her last 10 games, they look like this. 63, 36, 101 not out, 46, 47 not out. So those are her first 5 games of the last 10 games. Then her final game of HBJ Shield, she scored a 0. White Ferns against Australia, 27-24. And Super Smash so far, she has scores of 4 and 20. That suggests Bella James has hit a plateau. Now, that's not surprising considering that's usually what happens for the White Ferns players. You get called up to the White Ferns as a batter, you're probably going to get worse. But Bella James is scoring efficiently. In the Rose Bowl, she had the highest strike rate of the batters who scored 30 runs or more. Maddie Green had 85.5 strike rate. Bella James was 82.2. They were the only players to score 10 runs with strike rates over 80. And that applies for the whole year of ODI batting as well, where most White Ferns batters were below 80 strike rates. and there were only 4 ODI batters this year who had strike rates over 80. Bella James went straight into that group. We go to the Super Smash, and Bella James has the highest strike rate for Otago. She's only got 24 runs, so she's tied for 4th in runs for Otago, but she has a strike rate of 133.3, and the other 4 players who have hit 20 plus runs, Ingalls is at 107.4, Susie Bates is at 107.4. They're the only ones over 100. So my point here is that Bella James, her runs have dropped a little bit compared to her epic form in HBJ Shield, but she scores quickly. And this is what White Ferns cricket needs. Because Bella James is playing the same strokes. Like, she was smashing Molly Penfold. Same way she was smashing the Australian bowlers. Yes, she gets out, but in her period of batting, she looks like the most confident, aggressive, powerful batter that the White Ferns have, aside from someone like Sophie Devine. So Bella James, her runs aren't quite there. She isn't scoring the big runs, but for New Zealand, she was scoring quickly against Australia, and in a strong Otago batting unit, she's scoring quickly. Like Bella James, if she hits 30 off 15, 20 off 10, 25 off 15, whatever it is, with a good strike rate, well, she's got Susie Bates right there. Caitlin Blakely is a very solid domestic batter. Felicity Robertson's a very solid domestic batter. Polly Ingalls, I reckon she should be the White Ferns wicketkeeper. So that talks a lot about her batting ability. So again, the point that I'm trying to get out here is that Bella James is playing her role nicely, and I think that's important for her, considering what she offers is something that the women's cricket pipeline in New Zealand doesn't quite have a lot of right now.
Right on. And so we actually haven't seen some of the teams play yet, right? It's not just the rain which has stopped some of these games being finished. I don't think is it CD and had Northern Districts have a women's game either?
First game day was Northern Districts versus Auckland. Next game day is Otago hosting Central District. So the team we haven't seen or that won't play is Wellington. So we haven't seen Wellington. We probably won't see Wellington for a couple of days. Obviously, concentration of cricket in Alexandria means we've got a heavy dose of Otago. So that's a good opportunity to put the spotlight on Otago, where Max Chu is in dominant form across all 3 formats. And we had 17-year-old Mason Clark made his debut, amongst other interesting little Otago men wrinkles. Otago woman, dominant team in HBJ Shield. Coming into Super Smash, we got Bella James stepping up to the White Ferns, bit of funk there. Eden Carson's in great form. And you've got, Polly Ingalls and Susie Bates, or Polly Ingalls pushing for White Ferns cricket. There's a lot of interesting storylines for Otago that I want to update as well after the Central Districts game day, because 3 games for Otago, nice little spotlight on them, but also we'll see how they progress after games against Central Districts, because the Otago women only have 1 win from these 2 games, and the Otago men, both teams should have more wins. Otago women probably should have beaten Canterbury. They were in a strong position throughout that game, and the Otago men should have got a win against Auckland, but I think the rain interrupted that one.